Okay, good evening. This is the March 18th meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. The time is 6 o'clock sharp. And before we get started tonight, there's a remind all the commissioners, a few housekeeping rules here. Please keep the mics muted until speaking. We'll start with a roll call for this evening. I'm Edmund Haas, chair of the commission. Rest of the roll call here, Vice Chair Glenn Portman.
Present.
Okay, commission member Sue Blankenship.
Present.
Cindy Bishop.
Present.
Freddie Guerra.
Present.
Ed Maurer.
Present.
And Jim Walker.
Present.
Okay, item 2 and 3 are combined. This is to review the cases with staff presentation. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mary Perone Boswell. Mary, if you could introduce the Coppell staff members that are present and then lead the discussion.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. On the staff side of things, you have myself, Mary Perone Boswell, senior planner. We've got Matt Steer, development services administrator. We've got Mike Garza, assistant director of public works. Cole Baker, EIT, graduate engineer. Cami McGee, our planning secretary. Julian, who's going to provide our AV technician equipment. And I think that's it. Did I miss anyone? I think that's everybody. So we have 3 items on the agenda this evening. 2 of them are related. So we have a lift station proposed. Well, there's an existing lift station over on Sandy Lake Road, which sits nestled behind Universal Academy, right beside St. Joseph's Retirement Village. That lift station has been in operation for roughly 50 years or so. And so I think they did an upgrade sometime in 2004. What they're looking to do now is to replace that lift station with new equipment. So once this new lift station will come online, we'll have a backup generator, an electrical room, an odor control facility, and the actual lift station itself. Once that all gets built, the existing lift station and some of that piping will get removed or abandoned in place. So we're looking at both platting that property, which is also an item on tonight's agenda, and that will include some right-of-way dedication. This property's never been platted, so it'll be platting it as well as revising the PD. And it's a PD because a few years back there was a proposal to put a cell tower there. So while it was approved, it was never constructed. So I believe what happened was there was a big flood there, and that cell tower was never constructed. So this new PD will show the revised or the new equipment that's going in. Also, we're looking to replace the gate to get into the lift station property. So right now, this is more of like what's called a flag lot. So it comes up pretty skinny. There's a driveway, and then it's kind of more of a flag at the southern end. Right now, we do have shared access with the Universal Academy property. So you would actually access off of Sandy Lake Road through the Universal Academy property. Once you drive up a ways, it kind of turns off. Right now it's a gravel road and leads you into where the lift station is. So that gravel road is going to be replaced with concrete. Existing chain link fence gates will be replaced as well. There's no real proposed changes to landscaping on that property. It's just a facility for the lift station. It's not something that the public will be visiting. So once, as I said, once that lift station comes online, the existing lift station will be demolished and put down in place. The other item on tonight's agenda is Blackberry Farm Phase 2. So Blackberry Farm in general is a residential subdivision that was approved to have 74 residential lots and 9 common area lots. So Phase 1 has already been approved. That was with 54 lots and 8 of those common area lots. So this is just Phase 2, which is further north on the site. So the 2 projects on tonight's agenda are actually across the street from each other. So Blackberry Farms is on the north side of Sandy Lake, east of MacArthur Boulevard. This portion, as I said, is Phase 2. Will contain 20 residential lots and 1 HOA lot. So the lots range in size from about 9,000 to 11,000, or no, 17,000 square feet. And there's really nothing new. It all complies with the ordinance that was approved. This particular section of it, you come up the one street, I think it's Windmill, and it crosses over a creek, so there will be a bridge that's constructed to get to these last 20 lots. So those are the items on tonight's agenda. I don't know if you have any questions before we go in there, but we do have staff available for the lift station, as well as the engineer for Blackberry Farms is here as well. Just another thing, the lift station, it provides about 23% of the city services. So, and it's going to cost about, I think, $5 million and provides 6.9 MGD. Okay, that's all I got.
Thank you very much, Mary. A couple of questions for you. On the first one, you'd mentioned that the initial approvals through the process included a cell tower. Right. If a cell tower were to be, or there was a desire to put one there, is it cleared, or would it now go through the process again because it's, I don't know, maybe expired, just due to the length of time?
Right, so the original cell tower was never constructed, and with this PD, we are not proposing any cell tower to be located here, so we have to come back through the process.
Okay, that's number one. And then number two, on the Blackberry Farms, there was a lot of discussion in the previous approvals about obtaining a loamer, for the, I guess, the floodway. Has that all been completed? Is that part of this application that recognizes that right. Loamer?
So that was all completed, and we approved the ordinance, and so that's all done. So now they're just working on some of those items like, filing HOA documents and, paying certain fees and that type of thing. So
I'm sorry, what was that? A loamer? What is that?
Like a letter.
I don't remember.
Letter of map revision.
Oh.
And the loamer shouldn't have been approved yet because the grading operation hasn't commenced yet. So maybe a clomer has been done, a conditional letter, or a flood study, but not the loamer.
So engineering has approved whatever documentation that they require, and so they're working through the engineering process part of that right now.
Mary's correct. You're correct. It is a clomer that was approved.
Thank you.
That was Sue.
Out of curiosity, on the clomer, were there any significant changes then from the previous FEMA flood lines? Did it find any differences?
Not that I recall. It's been a while since I've reviewed that, but I don't recall any major changes.
Okay. That's all I had.
I had a couple questions on the Blackberry Farm.
Go ahead, Timmy.
So Mary, in our packet, there was attached like a city ordinance that looked like this for phase 1.
So that's for both phases.
So that's already done. We can't comment on that. That's done.
Right. So the ordinance is done. The only, we're just looking to approve the plats. Because the ordinance takes care of both phases, phase 1 and phase 2.
Mary, do you know why they're coming through now with this phase 2 plat when they haven't turned a blade of dirt in phase 1 yet?
I think they're just ready to do both phases, probably, at the same time or one right after another.
Thanks.
The ordinance makes. Sorry, the ordinance makes reference to design standards. With the change in law, does this ordinance still hold with regards to some of the exterior facade requirements and things like that?
So the new laws do take precedence, but if the laws were, repealed or reverted back, then it would fall back to this. So we kept that language in there rather than going through the whole PD process again.
Do you know, I know this is just platting here, but do you know if the intentions of the applicant with regards to exterior and any changes?
I do not know that answer.
Any other questions of staff?
Sorry,
Fire away.
on the exterior question, are you specifically talking about? I saw in there that they were waiving, they were allowing a stucco exterior finish in lieu of masonry. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, there were a certain number of stucco allowances, number of lots that were allowed to be stucco, but now with the change in law, I was just curious how this ordinance would hold, and obviously since new laws in place, what's the intention of the applicant when that comes through?
Yep, Mary, I have a question as well.
Yes.
On the lift station,
Yeah.
regarding the cell tower, I guess the question is from a city standpoint, is there a plan to put another cell tower somewhere else? Has that need been covered, and so forth?
So I don't believe there's any cell tower there at this point in time. And we have, we deal with cell tower people all the time, going, whether they want to go on like light standards or they do a lot of propagation now on existing sites.
Okay. And then what's the lifespan of a lift station?
I'll let Mike answer that. I know this one's about 50 years, but
50 years is about the useful life, service life, depending on maintenance and that sort of thing. But you can 50 to 75 years, depending on maintenance, essentially.
Okay. And then on Blackberry Farms, as it relates to I don't believe there's a sidewalk. So folks walking out of that community, walking toward MacArthur, let's say going to the elementary school, is there another path? Like how do they, from a pedestrian standpoint, how would they access all of that, either the commercial or school and so forth?
so I thought they had, and I'm trying to remember now, but I thought they had discussed building a sidewalk.
Yes.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
correct.
Yeah, I do remember that. I just don't. It was so long ago. I don't remember what if they agreed to build the sidewalk, or he was going to build it, or where it fell.
Yeah. So I heard a lot of yeses from, I think it was Mike and.
Yeah. So I think where we left it was they're going to build it the entire length all the way to, I believe, Kimball Court tie in,
Okay.
and the city's going to fund the portion of it that's not on their property essentially.
Okay, great.
That was a big discussion point during that whole process back in the day. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and since I'm new to this, I'm the new kid on the block. Sorry. On the, I was just looking up the ordinance, the stormwater ordinance. So it says, land which cannot be properly drained shall not be subdivided until receipt of evidence that construction can be developed to yield usable building sites. So engineering, we've got the engineer here. You've looked at this and you're confident that lots this close to the floodplain and this close to Denton Creek, there's going to be adequate engineering to prevent the backyards from washing away.
So there's a couple of things here that are at play. The drainage is adequate. Yes. Drainage is adequate. As far as backyards washing away, there's multiple things at play when we talk about erosion in creeks. And so they do have a conservation easement and an HOA that's going to be responsible for maintaining the erosion and bank stability of those creeks. And so I don't know if y'all have been through the history of this property, but way back when we did ask them to stabilize the banks going through the process, but the Corps told us we can't do that. And the Corps told us, the Corps of Engineers told us they had to leave it naturally, but they can dedicate an easement for the HOA to maintain in the event that it needs to take place in the future, that there is some bank failures or slope stability problems in the future. Because as we all know, creeks do what they want to do, and at some point they are going to fall, especially when trees start falling or that sort of thing happens, and it takes the banks with them. So from a drainage standpoint, the drainage, yes, is adequate. The runoff is adequate. The creek is adequate to carry the capacity. But the erosion is an unknown factor that they do have built into their my understanding, their HOA documents.
Indeed, that was another big discussion item when that came through, and particularly not only at the outset of construction, but just the general operations and maintenance, and whose shoulders would that fall if there was an issue. But that's all on the HOA. There's no burden on the city. And so, and that's kind of the precedence for all those kinds of lots along Denton Creek, along those creeks, that it's responsibility of the landowner if there's an issue, that it's fixed at their expense.
Yeah, I saw that in the ordinance. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but let me make sure I got all my questions answered. So I'm sorry, because I've done a couple Corps permits over the years. So the Corps wouldn't let you support the creek even with a permit.
That is correct.
That's interesting. Okay.
We thought the same thing when we went through the process.
Yeah.
They didn't want us to stabilize it up front. Is what the easiest way to explain it is that They didn't want us to touch it up front.
Very odd. Okay. It is what it is. Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate everybody's patience while I get up to speed on that.
That's why we have these pre-sessions.
That's right.
Nancy. Yeah. Good questions. Any other questions of staff on the cases?
Eddie, I do have one for Mike, just regarding the lift station. I guess over the years of its operation and maintenance, has there been any complaints from the academy or nearby businesses or residents?
About 10 or 12 years ago, we did have some odor complaints, but we installed some new odor control units and replaced the filters periodically. And as far as I know, we haven't had any complaints. A lot of the complaints that we do get are down the MacArthur on the Forest Main where we have some blow off. So it's not the lift station itself, but the actual Forest Main. So no, we haven't heard any in some time.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mary, do you want to cover the items on the agenda there with regards to city council action from the last council session?
Sure. So we had two items that went to city council. It was the Smoothie King and the 748 DeForest. Both items were approved by city council, and so we'll be going back in April with the ordinances for those two items.
Anything else?
Hey, Eddie, sorry, I had a question for Mary. I guess regarding the Hat Creek Burger Company, whatever became of the signage that was, I guess, painted on the side of the wall?
So you guys denied it, and they were supposed to take it down. And I'll have to check with, I think, building official to see if that was if that was done. I haven't driven by there lately, so I don't recall if it was done or not. But I'll add that to my list.
So I drive by there on my way home, and I've noticed that it's still painted on there. But we've temporarily suspended our enforcement on the temporary signs. So I didn't think during COVID was an appropriate time to reach out to them and say, hey, you have to take down your sign. So I think we'll wait until we'll give them a little extra time.
Yeah. Thanks, Matt. I think we have about 7 minutes before the meeting starts.
Yeah, so why don't we go ahead and adjourn our work session? If there's no other questions, I'll do that, and then we can reconvene here shortly. So the time is 6:23, and we'll have a short break until our regular session begins at 6:30. So, okay, see you shortly. All righty. here. All right, the time is now 6:31, and the Planning and Zoning Commission is now reconvening into regular session. All the members of the commission are present. Item 4 on the agenda is citizens' appearance. With the shelter in place order still in effect, the regular session is closed to in-person attendance. However, if there are any letters or emails from the public that have been submitted to the Coppell Planning Division as part of a standard item on the agenda, those will now be read into record. So, Ms. Perone-Boswell, did we receive any comments?
We just received one letter in favor of the lift station request.
Okay. And nothing else. So with that, I will close the citizens' appearance, and we'll move on to item 5 of the agenda. That's the approval of our February 25th, 2021 meeting minutes. Are there any questions or discussion by the commission? Okay. Is there a motion by the commission?
I'll make a motion for the approval of the February 25th, 2020 minutes.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Guerra. Is there a second?
Second.
I'm going to go with the newbie this time. I think it was Cindy that called that out.
Nope, I was too slow. It was somebody else.
Oh, then it was Sue. Was it Sue? Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Guerra. We have a second by Commissioner Blankenship. Ms. Cammie McGee, would you call the roll, please?
Okay. Please respond by saying aye or nay as I call your name. Chairman Haas.
Aye.
Vice Chair Portman.
Aye.
Commissioner Bishop.
Aye.
Commissioner Blankenship.
Aye.
Commissioner Guerra.
Aye.
Commissioner Maurer.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Okay, very good. Item 6 on the agenda is a public hearing. This is to consider PD-280R-R Coppell Sandy Lake Road Lift Station addition. The Sandy Lake Lift Station addition, Lot 1, Block A zoning change request from Plan Development number 280-Retail to Plan Development number 280 Revised Retail to approve a detailed site plan for an improved lift station located on 0.756 acres of land, located on the south side of Sandy Lake Road between South MacArthur Boulevard and Starleaf Street, at the request of the City of Coppell, the property owner, and being represented by Adrian Dongle of Plummer Associates. Ms. Perone-Boswell has the staff presentation. Mary?
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. This property is located, as you said, on the south side of Sandy Lake Road, approximately 1,100 feet east of MacArthur Boulevard. This lift station is about 50 years old or so. In 2015, a PD was approved to allow for a cell tower to be placed on this site. Just after that approval, the site was impacted by a severe flood, and the cell tower was never constructed. Next, please. So the lift station is nestled between the Universal Academy to the west and St. Joseph's Retirement Village to the east. And as you can see, it's located in the yellow segment on the aerial there. The Centauri sewer lift station was originally constructed 50 years ago. It was modified in 2004. This is a dry pit lift site, which pumps wastewater from a lower elevation to a higher elevation through a 20-inch force main. This process will improve the site and provide for a new lift station. The existing lift station, identified in blue there, will be demolished and abandoned in place once the new lift station is online. If you can see from the aerial, this site is accessed actually from the driveway on the Universal Academy site. So we do have an access easement where you come in off of Sandy Lake, and then once you get on site, you take a little left, and there's a gravel road into the lift station site. Next slide, please. So currently the site has gravel. These new improvements will include the new lift station, new concrete paving, an odor control system, yard piping, emergency generator, electrical control building. The existing lift station, as I mentioned, will be demolished and abandoned in place. The new lift station will have a firm capacity of 6.9 MGD, and this lift station will provide service to approximately 23% of the city. Estimated construction cost is about $5 million. This site is accessed, as I said, from Sandy Lake Road. This gravel and the remainder of the site will be upgraded to concrete. There's an existing chain link fence identified there in blue, which will be replaced with an 8-foot wrought iron fence with swinging gates. So next, Julian. So the blue represents the existing lift station, which will be taken down once the new lift station is in place. Next. So the orange represents the new items to be placed on this site. We've got a generator, electrical building, and an odor control system, which is along the southwest side of the site, and it will be screened from view from the existing screening wall and the Universal Academy building itself. And the odor control building will have a metal carport over it to protect the equipment. Next. So in terms of landscaping, there is no proposed landscaping other than to replace grass, which will be any grass that's disturbed during the construction process. As I said, this is a site that it's not for the public. This is strictly a functional site for the lift station. Next slide, please. So in terms of the buildings, this is the electrical building. It's going to be a prefab building with a split face block relief textured pattern, and it will be painted or a sandy beige in color. The building is approximately 12 feet in height, and the size will be an 11.5 by 25.5 foot building. As I mentioned, the odor control system will have a shade structure over it made of metal protecting the equipment. And that will be painted a light gray. Next slide. So this slide represents the type of gate material and fencing material that will be replaced, that will be replacing the chain link fence on site. Next slide. So we did send out letters, 6 within 200 feet, another 44 within 800 feet. We did receive 1 letter in favor of the proposed lift station. We did receive 2 phone calls, and I think that was more of, they saw the sign and they thought it was maybe something happening to Universal Academy. So, so we did receive, like I said, the 1 letter and 2 phone calls. Next slide. So staff is recommending approval of PD 280R-R subject to the following conditions. 1, that there may be additional comments at the time of building permit and detailed engineering review. That's the end of my presentation. We do have staff and the applicant here as well to answer any questions you may have.
Very good. Thank you, Mary. And during our work session in discussing the case, you noted that previously there was an approval or there was allowance for potential cell tower that has never come into play. And if a cell tower were to come in the future, it would have to go through the process, correct?
Correct.
Okay, very good. That's all I have. Are there any other questions of staff by the commission? Okay. I understand we have the applicant, Adrian Dongel of Plummer Associates. Adrian, is there anything else you'd like to add to the presentation? Or are you in agreement with the conditions as stated by staff?
Yes, I'm in agreement. Nothing to add. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Are there any questions of the applicant by the commission? Okay, seeing none. And this is a public hearing. Mary, are there any others that have requested to speak on this for the public hearing portion of this case?
No, sir.
Okay, with that, I'll close the public hearing. Are there any final discussion items or questions by the commission?
One question from a cost standpoint. I'm not as familiar with the construction of lift stations. So it being $5 million, how would you generally break down the cost of how that in terms of constructing a lift station, how it breaks down in terms of the project?
I'll let Adrian or Mike answer that.
Yeah, Mike, want me to take that? There's cost for the structures itself, and there's usually just, concrete structures. A lift station or a wet well is a below ground structure, a big vault to collect wastewater. So you have your kind of civil structural side, the concrete structures and electrical buildings, and then you got the electrical costs, and then all the piping that goes along with it, and equipment costs like the pumps and that sort of thing. Does that answer the question? Or are you talking about?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I was just curious in terms of what makes up the bulk of the cost of that.
Yeah, for this, mostly, I have to get the numbers in front of me to how it breaks down, but just the improvements, the structures itself, and yard piping can be the bulk of it, and then probably the equipment.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, any of the discussion items or questions? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion by the commission?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move the PD 280R-R as submitted, subject to the staff conditions outlined, be approved.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Portman. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Commissioner Walker. Ms. McGee, would you call the roll, please?
Please respond by saying aye or nay as I call your name. Chairman Haas,
Aye.
Vice Chair Portman,
Aye.
Commissioner Bishop,
Aye.
Commissioner Guerra,
Aye.
Commissioner Maurer,
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
All approved, none opposed. Motion.
I didn't get to vote.
Oh, I apologize. Commissioner, I'm so sorry. Commissioner Blankenship.
Aye.
Thank you. Sorry. All approved, none opposed. Motion carries.
Very good, Cammie. Item 7 on the agenda is the companion case to the Sandy Lake Lift Station. This is to consider approval of the Sandy Lake Lift Station Edition 1, Lot 1, Block A, minor plat, a plat of Lot 1, Block A for the Sandy Lake Lift Station project on a lot containing 0.756 acres of land located on the south side of Sandy Lake Road between South MacArthur Boulevard and Starleaf Street at the request of the City of Coppell, the property owner, and being represented by Adrian Dongell of Plummer Associates. Mary, we'll give the staff presentation.
Yes, sir. This is the companion item for the lift station that we just were talking about. Next slide, please. So this is pretty much a panhandle lot. There's some street frontage. You come in, and the majority of the site is at the rear. So this property has never been platted before, so we will be platting it with this new Sandy Lift Station upgrade next. So with this plat, there will be some right-of-way dedication along Sandy Lake. Next slide. The staff is recommending approval of the Coppell Sandy Lake Lift Station Edition Lot 1 Block A, subject to the following conditions, that there may be additional comments during detailed engineering plan review. That is the end of my presentation. So any questions?
Very good. Thank you, Mary. Any questions of staff by the commission? Okay. The applicant, Adrian Dongell of Plummer Associates, do you have anything to add to the case?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay. And you're in agreement with the conditions as stated?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Are there any other questions of the applicant by the commission? Okay, any discussion, or is there a motion by the commission?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I will move that the plat associated with PD 280R-R for the Sandy Lake Lift Station be approved as submitted, subject to the staff conditions.
Very good. Thank you, Glenn. We have a motion by Commissioner Portman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Marr. Cammie, would you call the roll, please?
Please respond by saying aye or nay as I call your name. Chairman Haas,
Aye.
Vice Chair Portman,
Aye.
Commissioner Bishop,
Aye.
Commissioner Blankenship,
Aye.
Commissioner Guerra,
Aye.
Commissioner Maurer,
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
All approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Very good. Thank you, Cammie. Item 8 on the agenda is to consider approval of Blackberry Farm Addition Phase 2, Lots 1 through 20 and 9X of Block D, a plat being a plat containing approximately 9.21 acres of land located on the north side of East Sandy Lake Road, approximately 1,800 feet east of MacArthur Boulevard, at the request of the Denton Creek Land Company Limited and being represented by Westwood Professional Services. The staff presentation is by Mary Prone Boswell. Mary?
Thank you, Chairman Haas. So this is phase 2. Phase 1 was approved late last year. And so both phase 1 and phase 2 have a total of 74 residential lots with 9 common area lots. Next slide, please. So this is the final plat for phase 2 of the project, which will have 20 residential lots and 1 common area lot. The residential lots range from 9,000 to 17,000 square feet, an average of 11,637 square feet. It is subject to the ordinance that was approved for Blackberry Farms, PD 259-SF7 and 9. So this is on the northern portion of the site. And so once you drive up that main drive, you cross over a little bridge that goes over the creek to access these last 20 lots. And then there's a cul-de-sac there. Next slide, please. Yeah, there we go. So staff is recommending approval of the final plat of Blackberry Farm Phase 2, lots 1 to 20, Block D, subject to the following conditions. 1, that there may be additional comments generated upon detailed engineering plan review. 2, that filing information for offsite easements must be filed and noted on this plat prior to filing this plat, and HOA documents must be filed prior to filing this plat as well. That is the end of my presentation. I'm available for questions, and the applicant is here as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mary. Any questions of staff by the commission?
Mary, what off-site easements are being referenced there?
So there's, once they file final plat 1, there's some easements on that plat, and so we'll just have to note it on this plat.
Any other questions?
Is that true as well for the HOA documents? Or are they applying to the first plat, so they'll apply to this one as well?
Correct. So the HOA would cover, both phase 1 and phase 2, all the lots.
Once this plat for phase 2 is voted on, presuming it passes, what's the next step in the development of this property? Do you know?
So once, the plats are approved, they're working on, there's some items on the checklist that they have to do, like provide the conservation easement. So set up that entity, which they've already are working through. File the HOA documents, pay certain fees for like park fees, and there's just kind of like a list of things that they have to go through, like every development has to go through. This one has a couple, the conservation easement is not typical, so we're working through that. There's a third party who will be doing the conservation easement, so they'll be providing money into a fund to maintain that conservation easement. They'll pay the park fees for this, file the HOA documents. Then we'll have to go, through engineering. We'll have to go through the pre-con, and then we can start development roughly.
Is engineering where the design of all this in relation to the other neighborhood over there to the west and the drainage and potential flooding concerns will be addressed?
Right, so they've already, I think, gone through that portion or are going through part of that portion. I'm not sure where they're at. And that addresses, all the infrastructure that goes into the ground for sewer, water, streets, and that type of thing.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question, Mary.
Go ahead, Sue.
So what happens if we approve this phase 2 plat? We've already approved the phase 1 plat, and they move forward, they submit construction plans, and they only build phase 2. Is there going to be something, is that during engineering that the access will be required to be constructed through phase 1, or is that a platting issue, or is that a development issue?
So, I believe the intent is that they're going to start with phase 1 because they're going to have to build that street to go all the way up into phase 2 in order to build the bridge and the rest of it. So I think, and I'm not going to put words into their mouth, but Lynn, I think they're either going to do like phase 1 and then phase 2, or do it all as one at one time.
But what happens if they don't? What if they choose to start with phase 2 and we've approved everything? How does that work?
Phase 2 cannot be built unless majority of phase 1 has been built, because the not only the access but the sanitary sewer and the water all come up from phase 1, extended up from Sandy Lake Road. So if phase 1 is not built, they cannot build phase 2.
Can you hear him?
I can, but I guess my question is to staff, because they don't, there's no trigger that says that they don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but in order to
build
in order
phase
to
1
build
first.
But in order to build phase 2, they'd have to provide all that infrastructure. And so,
Yeah, but what's the trigger that says they have to? I guess I'm just confused with what mechanism says they have to build phase 1 first, or in conjunction.
Well, the city was,
because all the utilities start from way down around San.
I understand that, but usually you ask for an easement across phase 1 property for phase 2, or for the sewer, for the water, for the storm, and for the street and access, and that has to be constructed first.
It would be access for fire emergency purposes. So if fire department can't get to phase 2, we won't allow them to build phase 2 without phase 1 being constructed, or at least the access to it. So they could, I guess theoretically, they could build the infrastructure, the roadways network and the bridge to get across to phase 2 and build phase 2, as long as the infrastructure is provided: water, sewer, storm, and access.
Okay.
So it would have to be able to stand on its own and not, so they'd have to have, like Mike was saying, all the water, all the sewer, and everything else leading up to it.
Right. Okay.
Any other questions of staff by the commission? In pre-session, we also discussed the ordinance, the plat. Nothing is really changing on any one of those items. We discussed Denton Creek, the Clomer. So everything is pretty much intact as it was before. So with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant, that being Westwood Professional Services. Is there anything you'd like to add? If I could get your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, it's Lynn Cadlick with Westwood, 2740 Dallas Parkway, Plano 75293. And I don't really have anything to add. Staff has obviously reviewed and are recommending approval. If there are any other questions, I'd be glad to try and answer them.
Okay, very good. Are there any questions of the applicant by the commission?
Yes, sir.
Fire away.
Mr. Cadler, is it y'all's intent to build both phases together? Build phase one first, or build, what's your intent for construction?
The intent is to construct both phases together. We obviously have more steps to go through with phase two than we do with phase one at this point, because we've got to go through engineering review, approvals, and before we can even consider starting phase two. So right now, the intent is to apply for a early grading permit for the entire project so that we can go ahead and start that process. And that is going to be obviously a timely process with this project because of the amount of earth that has to be moved out there. And that we're actually in the process of obtaining bids for both phases at this time. So,
when do you anticipate starting construction?
I would anticipate as soon as we can get the bids in, now analyze them and select the contractors. We'll be asking for a pre-construction on phase one because phase two, as I said, still has steps to go through before we could request the phase pre-construction.
Okay. And the reason I ask that is because phase one plat's been to us several times for several extensions over and over again. So I was just wondering what your timing was.
Yes, ma'am. I understand there were several delays on the project, but as it stands right now, the owner, Terry Holmes, is ready to proceed with this and get it built.
Thank you.
I had a question with regards to the exterior of the products there. There was an ordinance that identified certain types of elements to be used and certain number of stucco allowances. Now with the change in law, it's kind of open. What is the applicant's position on the look and feel of the units there?
Well, I'm not the builder, so I can't really speak for Terry, but obviously what is allowed by the ordinances is what he will build. I know he had stipulated, I think it was 18 units in the development for stucco. And if that's allowed, then he'll build that. If it's not, then he'll have to build obviously in accordance with the ordinance.
Okay.
May I answer that question? I'm with the Homes Builders.
If I could get your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Megan Lozano with the Homes Builders, 225 East State Highway 121, Suite 120, Coppell, Texas. Terry wasn't able to be on tonight, but I can answer a couple of those questions. We would like to build the stucco houses just like Lynn said. We have seen, though, based on the things we've done in Red Hawk recently, I don't anticipate the neighborhood being much more than what we're seeing in Red Hawk. We're not doing a lot of full stucco houses, so to anticipate it being significantly more, we're not seeing that right now in demand in the design world. So I think it will be similar to what's in Red Hawk in terms of exterior materials. In terms of when we're starting construction, our hope is to start in May. Based on the timing we have with the city, that would be starting phase one. Obviously, phase two would follow suit when we're approved with the city and engineering on everything.
Very good. Thank you very much there. Are there any other questions of the applicant by the commission?
Yes, I just wanted to confirm their understanding of the sidewalk and the connection and what they're agreeing to perform.
Try to speak to that. I know there was discussions over a long period of time regarding the sidewalk connection. Our plans actually reflect the construction of the sidewalk up to Kimball Court, if I recall correctly. So, and then I think there was an agreement where the city would participate in the cost to carry that over to MacArthur. As I think that's what Mike Garza said earlier. So I believe that was the case.
I think that was over to Kimball Court, was that not, Mike?
Yes, that's correct. It's to Kimball Court.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions of the applicant? Okay. Seeing none. Is there any other discussion or questions of the staff or any discussion amongst the commission? Okay. Is there a motion by the commission?
I'll make a motion. Move to approve the final plat of Blackberry Farm Phase 2 lots 1 through 20, Block D, subject to the staff conditions.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Marr. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second, Commissioner Blankenship. Cammie, would you call the roll, please?
Please respond by saying aye or nay as I call your name. Chairman Haas,
Aye.
Vice Chair Portman,
Aye.
Commissioner Bishop,
Aye.
Commissioner Blankenship,
Aye.
Commissioner Guerra,
Aye.
Commissioner Maurer,
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Cammie. Item 9 on the agenda, and thank you to the applicants here. Item 9 on the agenda is the update on city council items. The commission was briefed during our work session on those city council updates. Are there any questions by the commission of staff on the updates? Okay, seeing none, I'll move.
I was curious if we're not going to meet next month, is there a possibility we'll be meeting in person in May?
It is possible. I think we'd have to see what happens over the next month.
Okay.
So, sorry, I have one correction on that last item. So it was for phase 2, and I apologize. It should be lot 1 to 20 and the common area lot for block B. So you just
on Blackberry. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, hopefully we get a chance to meet in person in May. That would be fun. Get everyone in the same room. So with that, are there any other comments that you might have there, Mary, on item 9? Anything else there?
No, we took the Smoothie King and 748 to Forest City Council, and they were approved, and we'll be going back to council with the ordinance next month.
Okay, very good. Moving on to item 10 is adjournments. Since there's no other business before the Planning and Zoning Commission, I will adjourn the meeting. The time is 7:04 p.m., and this meeting is now adjourned.
Y'all take care.
Hey, thank you. See you guys next time.